Bamboo Annals, also known as G-Tomb Annals, is a chronicle of ancient China. It begins at the earliest legendary times, the Yellow Emperor, and extends to 299 BC, with the latter century focusing on the history of the state of Wei in the Warring States period. It thus covers a similar period to the record of the Grand Historian. The original may have been lost during the Song dynasty, and the text is known today in two versions, a current version or modern text of disputed authenticity and an incomplete ancient text. Textual history. The original text was interred with King Jing of Wei, who died in 296 BC, and rediscovered nearly 6 centuries later in 281 AD. For this reason, the chronicles survived the burning of the books by Emperor Qin Shi Huang. Other texts recovered from the same tomb include I Ching and the Tale of Mu and Gaoyu. They were written on bamboo slips, the usual writing material of the Warring States period, and it is from this that the name of the text derived. The strips were arranged in order and transcribed by court scholars, who identified the work as the State Chronicle of Wei. According to Du Yu, who saw the original slips, the text began with the Xia dynasty and used a series of different pre-Han calendars. However, later indirect reports state that it began with the Yellow Emperor. This version, consisting of 13 scrolls, was lost during the Song dynasty. A 3-scroll version of the Annals is mentioned in the history of Song, but its relationship to the other version is not known. The current text is a 2-scroll version of the text printed in the late 16th century. The first scroll contains a sparse narrative of the pre-dynastic emperors, including the Yellow Emperor, and the Xia dynasty and the Shang dynasty. The narrative is interspersed with longer passages of portents, which are identical to passages in the late 5th century Book of Song. The second scroll contains a more detailed account of the history of Western Zhou, the state of Jin, and the successor state Wei, and has no portent passages. This version gave years according to sexagenary cycle, a practice that began in the Han dynasty. The discrepancies between the text and the quotations of the earlier text in older books led scholars to dismiss the current version as a forgery, a view still held today. Other scholars argue that substantial parts of it are faithful copies of the original text. The ancient text is a partial version assembled through painstaking examination of quotations of the lost original pre-Song works. A couple of scholars have systematically collated all the available quotations instead of following earlier scholars in trying to merge variant forms of a passage into a single text.